So let's start with the first question from Jesslyn. Jesslyn in PJ. And the question says, I am Generation Z. Okay, so this person is Generation Z. And it's hard to suddenly start building relationships even with my family. So what should I do? Okay, so remember one thing is, relationships are like, relationships are like planting seeds. Planting seeds. Okay? Now, what do you mean by planting seeds? Planting seeds means there's stages. Like first is planting the seed, then after you have to water it, give it fertilizer and sunlight, and then it starts to grow and then you take care of it. You know, there's stages of how this seed grows. In the same way too, relationships are the same, right? Even, you know, when I was in high school, there's a girl I liked. I couldn't say anything deeply about myself to them. When you first meet them, I'm just like, hey, what's your favorite color, right? Because you don't know anything about them. It's really awkward when you don't know someone. So what do? You start with stage one, which means that don't expect to have a 10 million word conversation with them. You start off with greetings, right? And you just, when you're eating together, if you don't talk to them while you're eating, then this time at least ask one question. How was your day? And that's better than before. That's the first stage of planting the seed. The next time you go to eat, ask a question again. Ask a second question, right? It's not something where you're going to just have a relationship. It's kind of like love, right? Love isn't instantaneous. And if two people, you know, when two people look at each other like, oh, we're in love, it doesn't happen. You might be attracted because they're good looking or cute or pretty, whatever, but there's no such thing as love at first sight. It just doesn't work. Love takes time. And your relationships are going to take time. Start it step by step where when you never talked before, or you always ate in another room, this time eat together. No matter how awkward it gets, you need to plant the seed, okay? And with time, it'll get better and better. Okay, let's go to the next question, also from Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur. The name is Kayin. Kayin. Okay, says, if the people around me are negative, does it mean that my value is low too? No. Okay, so that's something that is a great question. Right, because we said that, hey, you know, your self-worth is tied to the people that matter, okay? Which means that if the people around you are negative, like I'm not sure, Kayin, I'm not sure if you're saying this like they are negative towards you or they're just negative in general, right? Because there's some people that are just negative all the time, right? So if the people around you are constantly negative and it's really, really affecting you, you actually have two options. Right? Like one option is you have to be the one that kind of starts the catalyst of positivity and you start to try to bring positivity and good vibes into the group, which is very difficult, obviously. Or you may be in a very toxic relationship with your friends, and if it's too much, you're far better off getting other friends. I know that's hard too, but both are hard. Both are hard. But that's why you also have to be careful who you have around you. It does make a big difference. Right? So if the people around you are negative, does it mean that you're not worth anything? Well, those are just friends. Go to your family, right? And then I'm not sure if you believe in God or not, but that's why I told you myself too, because I believe in God is even if things go wrong with my family and friends, I still have God and I rely on God, right? And that's why I never have that, oh no, I'm so alone now. I'm actually, I am physically alone, but I have someone to talk to, and I do meditate and I pray and I talk it out with God. Okay, I hope that helps. Let's go to Hao Jun in PJ. PJ is where? Pedaling Jaya. Okay, here we go. So it says, I can't really trust people, but I heard that God works through people. Not sure what to do. Okay, trusting people. Yeah, and I agree with you. I'm actually going to agree with you. You don't trust people, and the answer is I don't trust people either. But I'm talking in general. In general. Like, we're talking like trusting with deeper issues, right? Talking with, you know, because there is a general trust where we could say we do trust people, as in when you're walking down the street, you trust that the person, a stranger walking by, is not going to punch you in the face, right? There's trust there. It's at least a little basic level. But we're talking about deeper relationships and actually trusting deeply in someone. That is not something you can just switch on because it doesn't work that way. Trust is something that is built. It's built, which means that Hao Jun, when you're going through this, is it Junhao or Hao Jun? It's Hao Jun, right? So Hao Jun, you have to understand is when you want to trust in someone, you have to build the relationship first, which takes time. Which means that, I'm telling you, you don't have to trust them. You don't. At the basic level, you do. Basic level is, you basically trust them that they're not going to hit you. They're not going to disrespect you, like, at the basic level. But what I want you to know is, if you really want to start trusting people, number one is, don't blanket everyone and say, I don't trust anyone. Because honestly, we actually do trust people at a basic level, that they're not going to steal, they're going to ram their car into me and kill me, they're not going to like punch me, they're not going to do something bad, take a knife and kill. Like, we have at least that general trust, which means that even if God's working through people, yes, I understand you don't trust people, but you should have the general trust in people. It's completely different. When it comes to the deep trust, that has to be built. But when you say that God works through people, God can also work through strangers. But if you don't even trust a stranger, even at the basic level, if that was true, you would never walk on the same side of the street where people were, oh, I don't trust them, and you'd run to the side. Oh, there's people there. You run to the side. Oh, I better walk in the middle of the street. When a car comes, oh, no, I don't trust them either. Oh, you know, when you go to school, you wouldn't trust anyone. You sit in the corner by yourself, which means that you do trust people at a basic level at least, right? And that's why basic level trust is fine. Basic level. But when it comes to deep level, that's something you have to build towards. Yeah, no one trusts at the deeper level. No one does. That takes time. But basic level trust, it's something that's across the board. And I think, I'm assuming that the majority of us have the basic level trust with the people around us, okay? But if you, in your mind, say, I don't trust anyone, that's going to be an issue, because then you won't even trust, like, just basic common sense things. But I'm pretty sure you wait in line for coronavirus, which means you trust the person in front and behind you, right? That they're not going to hit you or beat you, whatever, steal your wallet. So I'm sure you have a basic level, and that's what you want to separate between the two. Let's go to Grace. Grace says, our self-worth, is it depending on fulfilling God's will? And the answer is no. It's not. When it comes to people of faith, one of the biggest misconceptions is that I have to do something to have at least the basic level of self-worth. And the answer is, if that was the case, how could God love people that hate him? How could God love people and want to bring people that are atheists or people who say bad things against him, right? When you look at the very basic level of self-worth, every person, just like, I'm not sure if you're a parent, but if you're a parent, you got to think about this. If your daughter or if your son was really, really bad, would you ever stop loving them? Would their worth be any less? Like the basic level of when you love your children, would there be any less worth to you? And the answer is no. For parents too, when you look at it from that perspective, your parents will accept you no matter what. That's just the basic level. Well, because if it really depended upon me fulfilling God's will, for God to know my self-worth, well, the scriptures also say that, you know what, I wouldn't even trade you for all the money and all the nations in the world. That's basic level. And that's why any person who comes to God, right, for people who have faith, any person who comes to God, there is self-worth. There is, for everyone. Right? God, his love is abounding for all people, that when you come to him, why do we feel guilty? We're like, God, how could you, I've done so many bad things. I've done so many bad things all my life. But God's like, no, I accept you because I know what you're worth. Your worth is everything to me. And that's at the basic baseline. Later on, of course, later on, after the basic worth, yeah, there are things that matter too, like fulfilling God's will and such too. But when I read the scriptures and when I see how the world works, and when I see when there's true love, like true love between people and true self-worth, if there wasn't self-worth without any works or accomplishment, very few people would have a second chance in life, right? But, we see the worth in people regardless of what they do. And that's something that we have to, for people of faith, we got to see things through God's eyes, which means everyone is valuable. And that's why Jesus would talk to, like, the prostitute. Jesus would talk to the Samaritan woman by the well. In the eyes of everyone else, they're not really accomplishing anything. But in God's eyes, that basic level of worth is there for everyone. And that's why people can fall in love with God, because there's no judgment in that area, right? So I hope that answers your question. Since it looks like we're going to end the questions over here, I don't think there's any more questions. So we'll end it here then. I hope that everyone had a wonderful day today. I had a wonderful time when talking about self-worth. We could probably do another self-worth, not next week, maybe a couple weeks later. But I'm very grateful for all of you to come join us today. And we'll see you next week, next Saturday, 8 p.m. for another Bubble Talk. See you guys later. Bye-bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Sky. Make sure you click subscribe, obliterate that like button, leave some comments, and support us on Patreon. All right, catch you later.